Shabbat Shalom Mahabara. What we doing? How we feeling? What we must achieve? What we here to accomplish? All them good things, man. Hope all is well. Apalaka Tawab. We just going over the name, the name. How important is the name? The name Habara or Hebrew or Ibri. How important is the name? Um, let's see, man. Let's just get into a little bit about the early Israelites or Yisraelites. Um, let's get into it. See just some things that were said about the name. The name. Hold on one second. Alright, it's not sure. About the name. Okay, and down your generations, we got many names. The Shasu people, we got many names. Even we've been even called Cometics when we were in Egypt. There's many names that the high skulls. What about that? The ones who invaded Egypt. We've been called many names, but one we like to stick to is the name that we even sometimes called our own, the Habaru people. Okay, let's get into it. Just a little break, thin the ice, break a little bit, hit you over the head with some real. Let's just get into some details about the name. Let's get into some food. We're looking for good news. Let's go. The name Hebrew in archaeology and in scripture. The Hebrews. The name Hebrew in archaeology, archaeology, and in the scripture. Okay, and in the scripture. All right, like that's not archaeology, but it says in the ancient Bible world of the ancient Near East. There are constant references in text to persons known as the CA period GAZ in cuneiform. Okay, it's abbreviation in cuneiform as Haparu or Habaru in Mesopotamia, Mesopotamia, and as PRW, prisoners of war in Egypt. Okay, I would just assume that means that. Okay, the hard H and the W is a plural ending, while the CA sagas are not necessarily specifically Habaru or Habaru, for they are never to our knowledge treated as equal in the list of ancient lexicographers. They are often identified with them. Thus the terms are not synonymous, but the sagas can be Haparu. And remember, you got, just in how they spell in Haparu, you got what? Peru. Alright? Peru. So Jerusalem. Okay, like in the later days, how we call Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem, Peru. Jerusalem, just like Prussia. For now, it's called Russia. Prussia. We called that in the later days. So Peru, all right? Peru, all right? Peru. Habaru for Ibru, Ibru, Peru. Okay, so Haparu. Okay, Haparu in certain circumstances. Okay, so now we covering all areas, but when we talk about Peru, we're talking about the Americas. And so one good thing is to understand is that we went through a diaspora of going from continent to continent, teaching our faith, for one, the true one great God. Okay, the true one gate God. In the ancient days we call it one way, but it's the true ancient God. Okay, the true ancient creator. Okay, the creator of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, and we bedwinned a lot of places, meaning that we made our home places that were not our home. We went through the desert. We did a lot of things. We did a lot of traveling. We did a lot of navigating. Okay, just to teach the people, okay, about the true and one God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, in English, but in Hebrew, Habaru, meaning in Picto and Paleo languages. Okay, in Paleo languages. Now you know. Now when we talk about the indigenous tribes, but this is a certain type of indigenous tribe. This is an indigenous tribe that's concealed with the faith of the Holy of Holies. You have to understand that there's a lot of indigenous people in this world. Okay, there's a lot of indigenous people in this world, but the fact that our true the true Habaru or Hebrews, the children of Eber, the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, it was a certain type of lifestyle, a certain type of culture, a certain type of heritage. Okay, and that was in the system or oracle. Okay, in the system of Picto. All right, as far as the true one God and the true creator of our peoples, the true creator of our spirits, the true creator of our soul. Okay, and so we kept, as you can see, man, we've been doing this for a minute, so we gather all the information. You can see we walked around with this information. We kept it dearly close to us as we do today. You see today, the tribes of Judah, the so-called prisoners of war, man, we got book bags. Okay, and you can see our book bags. What's in our book bags? It's always the Bible, always the Torah. You understand? Always the KJV. So we use that as a guide. Okay, a guide for the living, a guide for the living. Okay, so as you can see, we still, in some ways, have our same cultures from the ancient days, because all of us walk around with backpacks, ready to pull a Bible out at any given moment. All right, ready to pull our autobiography, our biblios, out just to stay in line. Okay, stay in line with our soul. So as you can see, man, we're very, very spiritual people, and we solidified everywhere we went. Okay. And so when you talk about Peru or the Americas, man, this was the secret place. This was the secret place because we were hidden. Okay, once we ran out of Judea and out of our ancient cities. Okay, trying to avoid the destruction of our people.
The next slide, I'm gonna give you the source. This comes out of a book called The Anthropological and Historical Studies on the Israelite Society Before the Monarchy, volume 37, pages 49 through 52. And I call this Albright's Theological Revision or Revision. All right. Now, this is my endnotes. Although critiqued, Albright initial, his first point and his changed views on the nomadism of Abram is backed up by scriptures as being semi-nomadic. Okay, and other Hebrews, because Abraham was not the only Hebrew. Why? Because such as his sons and grandsons being stationary like the Ishmaelites, the Edomites, who would be considered Hebrews, and even Jacob's uncle Laban, but still with nomadic tendencies. So these people would stay in one area. Some people would be left behind in their tribe, and some of the people of the tribe would move on to either other tribes or they move on to other lands, and they just keep traveling. All right, so on to the next slide. These are the possible trade routes that Abraham could have taken. We understand that from Ur, you would have to take a northwest trade route, and if he were to take a northwest trade route, he would actually be traveling amongst these major cities. You have Agag, you have Babylon, you have Nuzi, you have Mari. These are major cities where we see along the Euphrates, okay, and along the Tigris, where a lot of cuneiform tablets have been found, a lot of political tablets have been found, and a lot of religious tablets have been found. And amongst these communities, you had what you call the urban areas. You had the suburbs, and then amongst the suburbs, you had where the nomads would live, which these nomads would also be called Habiru because they lived around these cities because they had to penetrate some of these towns and these cities to get what they needed to survive. All right, so Abraham had to travel amongst these trade routes and, of course, pick up different other people as well because, like I said, to survive, you would have to actually become conglomerate with other people that you pick up along the way.
Okay, so that's why you see a lot of things here. That's why you even see us named a lot of things here. The fact that we were emulating, we were emulating what we were doing in the city of David. Okay, we were emulating what we were doing on the Mount Olives. Okay, we were emulating what we were doing on Mount Zion. Okay, so a lot of these places and landmarks you will see here, because, like you said, we dualitied it. We emulated it. It felt like it was home. These were our lands. It was home. We felt like this is where the Most High had sent us, but not knowing, through some time afterwards, we'd be running into an invasion, which was that real. But we had to know because, like you said, we ran from Judea. Okay, we ran from Judea, so we knew that this was coming. This was awaiting our destruction. Okay, so that's when you check out the destruction of the Jews. Okay, you'll understand. Y'all get that drop, destruction of the Jews, and then you'll understand how. What was beautiful to understand is that, like we say, we have these indigenous peoples all over the world scattered abroad when you start the first exiles. But to understand that now, when you go back in your history and you remember, it said that this so-called, and remind you in quotation marks, this so-called Christopher Columbus came over with what? A Hebrew interpreter. All right, so when you get that, when you understand this sort of fictional parts of history, okay, that not necessarily are they fictitious, but maybe the names, maybe the characters, maybe the certain instances can be fictitious, but yet and still, like, the devil can use a lie to tell the truth. So therefore, but when you see that these invaders had, Habaru had Hebrew people, Hebrew interpreters, then you have to understand that there was a war waged, right? And not just a war waged by foreign people, but there was a war waged by our own people. Okay, and that's one true thing that we have to understand. I can keep hitting you over the head with First and Second Kings, but it's very important. First and Second Chronicles is very important because there lies the intel of our people warring with each other and hiring foreigners to take up arms, as you can say, with them. Okay, to defeat our own people, our own tribes. Okay, so you can see that this was a weapon instilled by no other greater than the Creator. Like he said, before your destruction, what do I do? I harden your heart. So we harden our hearts amongst our own people. So that's what we're dealing with all the way today in 2020. We dealing with the harden of our hearts amongst our own people. The harden of our own hearts. We still trying to get foreigners to ride down on our own people and destruct them, and to carry on with this 1,000 years of destruction of our own people. Okay, so the name Habaru is very important. The name Bani is very important because Bani talks about how it's bringing together all the children of Israel, the tribes, the northern and the southern, bringing the branches together. What we once called Gentile would be the northern tribe. We call the Israelites the Gentiles. Okay, they were the first for the exile, but Judah stayed around 100 and something odd years. So Judah wasn't called the exile. Okay, Judah wasn't called the Gentile. You understand? For the word was given to the Jew, right? So we understand when it's using in that text, it's just talking about the tribe of Judah. Okay, the tribe of Judah, which at that point, when the tribe separated with three tribes, three different tribes: Benjamin, Ephraim, and Judah. Okay, so when you talk about Jews, and when you speak of that the law was given to the Jews, that's who we specifically are talking about. Those three tribes come together, form the tribe of Judah, and then we had the other, as we call Gentile Israelite tribes, who, remember, in 1 Kings denounced David. So the other 10 tribes that denounced David, our father, denounced them and called them Gentiles. Okay, and sent them over to a different king, a different captive, one who would, with them both, predict their demise. Okay, that means the demise of the 20 and something odd kings, or the 40 and something odd kings after Solomon. Okay, the 20 and something odd kings after Solomon that we would have. That we would have through the tribe of Israel, for the tribe of Israel, for the northern kingdom. Okay, so now the biggest part that we talking about when we break this name down, talking about the Habaru, because we need an essence, the foundation, to get us to come back to the Creator. So, man, for the next, who knows, for the next time and a half, all we talking about is getting the people to repent, and we're lamenting to our children, our brothers and sisters, trying to get us to throw down this 1,000-year war between our people, Israelite and Judah. We talking about the indigenous tribes, the tribes that your history in America, okay, your history in America. We talking about the war against our tribes, okay. So this war did not just carry on in the Americas; it carried on even, before we even came to the Americas. You understand? This war actually started, when you go to the Bible, it started in the Garden of Eden. Okay, it started in the Garden of Eden with Cain and Abel. Okay, so this war that our people, that the Habaru and the Bani has been going through, is something that the Most High said, "I'm gonna harden your hearts," and from the hardening of our hearts, began this 1,000-year war, man. So let's understand, get our foundation, come back to the foundation, come back to our essence, come back to our true ancient love song, and understand that we got to finish where we left off. The same as with coming back to our Creator. Okay, coming back to our Creator and understand each other. In order for us to come back to our Creator, we cannot deny the Hamashiach, because denying the Hamashiach is just going to continue us to fighting. Do you understand? The Bantu is just going to continue us to fighting. Okay, it's just going to continue us to fighting over differences that we don't even understand, over differences that someone else has imboginated into our minds. Okay, over differences when we know we are the same. All right, Judah, Yasherahla, Yahuda, stand up, man. This is that bridge that comes together, okay? From man, scattered abroad from continents. This is that bridge that come together. We are that bridge. Okay, Yasherahla, stand up. Quam, Yasherahla, stand up. All right. So the whole argument over this is about our people coming together. Okay, Jeroboam knew that. I keep speaking of Jeroboam. Would you please go back to Jeroboam in Kings? Okay, he's going to tell you what he was so apprehensive of, and that was our people coming back to the Father, coming back to the Creator. Our people have been denying the Hamashiach since the wilderness. Do you understand that? And we still denying the Hamashiach, trying to say that it's the white man's God, trying to say that, hey, the Bible is false. The Bible is the white man's. The New Testament is some bullshit. It's from the white. Do you understand, man? Listen, Hawa knew. He knew how you would reject the stone. And you built it. You will reject the stone that you built. You understand? We talking about the descendants, the prisoners of wars, the descendants in America. The descendants that have forefathers that have been marked for slavery. Descendants in writing. You can see papers that our grandmothers, our great grandmothers were slaves. You understand? You understand? Our foreparents were slaves. So when you talk about the Hamashiach, you're only acknowledging to your people that you acknowledging to God that you understand. Matter of fact, you overstand. I mean, come on, let's put it together. You the tribe of Judah, right? You're the descendants of the Judean people, right? Not Ish, Judean people. Okay? And wasn't your people in the Americas hung on trees? Were they not hung on trees? I just need a straight answer. I just need a straight answer. I don't need no, oh, that was a long time ago. That wasn't me. Listen, just give me a straight answer. Were our people the descendants of slaves, the Judean people? Okay? Not even if you don't know they're Judean people. Do you know that your people in Americas were hung in trees? Okay? Do you know that the Hamashiach was hung in a tree? According to Acts. Okay, so somewhere you got to correlate yourself. Somewhere you got to correlate your spirit. Come on, man. Embody your spirit. What is that? What is that? What is that spirit? Embody that spirit. Could this be the spirit? Could this be the spirit that helped made the firmament? Could this be the spirit, the same spirit that intertwined in a David? Could this be the same spirit that helped Moshe free you out of Egypt? Can this be that spirit? Can it be that same spirit that welted and wept to our Father when we went through the atrocities of slavery, all the atrocities? We don't need to break the atrocities of slavery down. We already know what we went through. The torture wheel. We already know what we went through. Free feed. Eleazar and the 7 brethren. We already know what we went through. We know what we went through. Our 8 brothers. Okay, Eleazar and the 7 brethren and the mother going through the wheel of torture by the Romans. Okay, so we know. We understand. Okay, and we understand for every invader, for every invasion, that some of our people were part of the invasion. We know for some of those military uniforms, some of our brothers and sisters were in them. For some of those rebel uniforms, some of our brothers and sisters are in them. And not that they wanted to be, but maybe they were forced to be. You understand? And that's just talking about another branch of Israelites that might have been involved in their own genocide. All right, so when we talk about this Habaru, this Habaru, this Hebrew people, we're not just talking about indigenous peoples of the world or just indigenous peoples of America. We're talking about a peculiar of people, a peculiar of people. They once were a peculiar people because they worshiped the one true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, the spirit of the people. The spirit of the people will come back alive. The spirit of the people was killed. Okay? At least you think, right? The spirit of the people was laid dormant. But the spirit of the people will qualm. The spirit of the people will eretz. The spirit of the people will rise. The spirit of the people is the spirit of the one true and living God. Alright? Halil Hawa. Halil Hawa. So let's get into some ancient days. Let's talk about this Habaru and our people. Alright? And our people. Our prisoners of war. Okay, so the PRW are identified with the Habaru in the Armana letters from the king of Yasherahla and with the sagas. By other correspondence, we are not, however, to think of these Habaru or Habaru or PRWs, right? Prisoners of war, but they're saying it, yeah, as Parus, these bloods, these mems, as a Pacific race of nation or nation. Okay, as a Pacific race or nation, but rather it appears to be a name for stateless peoples as they come into contact with major civilizations. Okay, so what they're talking about, as you can see, as you can close your eyes, you can understand that, okay, when you talk about civilizations and these people, stateless people coming in contact, okay, that means we were Bedouins, you understand, coming from one bush or desert to the next, coming into these civilizations, these cities, such as Egypt, okay, where they had a king, okay, where they had this king of rulership, okay. And one can mean different things in the context as it is a usual way of describing people with no other identity. They are witness to from the 3rd millennium BC down to the 10th century BC. Okay, 10th century BC. All right, with Dawid. Okay, the sagas or nagas or sagas indicates two cuneiform signs given no recognized meaning. The term is found in Sumerian literature but has no meaning in Sumerian. It is equated in literature with the Akkadian Habatu. Okay, now you see Bantu, Batu, and Bantu. Okay, which is connotated in the word Habaru. Okay, which means they say a highway robber. Okay, but it's probably, now that that would have been called by another nation of people to the Habaru, calling us highway robbers, but is probably derived from the Akkadian word Sagasu, which means aggressor. Okay, Sagasu. The saga, okay, the sagas are therefore seen as fierce and lawless. Okay, now they're saying lawless, but we know when you talk, because that's okay, people, i.e. not obeying the laws of others. Okay, so now I didn't have to break that down, because you can see these are laws of others because we obey our laws, which is the law from the one true and living God. Okay, now you understand that, right? So that's why we say that, that's why they're saying that they called us lawless. Okay, lawless because of that. But so Sashu. Okay, Susa. So you can know these are all coming from those indigenous words of the Sashu people. Okay, now those Sashu people were, when you talk about Hannibal, after the Israelites were encompassed and enslaved or exiled, then you have Hannibal coming over, and Hannibal, as you read into it, being an Israelite or Yasherahla, and the same as Judas Maccabean. So you have these stories of coming out of Jerusalem over into the Samarias and fighting for, getting Israelites to fight for Jerusalem. Okay. And so you can see that these uprising of these Hebrew people, these Abara people, would continue throughout these years as trying to free our people. Okay, but it had to be all element precise timing with the Creator, right? So that time is up. So it's time to go. My people, it's time to gather. Okay, it's time to gather. Okay, so the sagas indicates two uniform signs giving a meaning determined scenario. Okay, now in the third dynasty of Ur, they are described as these unclothed people who traveled in dead silence, who destroyed everything, whose menfolk go where they will. They established their tents and their camps. Okay, so we talking about booths. So how Hawa said we established booths. We established booths. Okay, and so we getting food out of this to get an understanding of the Habara people. Okay, of our people. Okay, we just getting an understanding of the Habara people. Okay, the indigenous, peculiar people of the Americas and other indigenous islands all over the world. So they established their tents and their camps, as we call them, the booths. Okay, when they say they traveled in dead silence, y'all reading between the lines, right? So you know they're talking about, we did a lot of praying. We were silent because of praying. So who traveled in dead silence? We didn't play. Remember, Hawa says about the playing and goofing around, and you understand. So in the dead silence, we were busy talking to the Lord, talking to Hawa. Okay, who destroyed everything. Okay, when they talk about, what do you think they're talking about when they say who destroys everything, who moves in dead silence, unclothed people? All right, so now when you can put it together, when you talk about unclothed people, because we making our own according to the Most High. A lot of us have fringes. We didn't have these different type of things. Okay, we're fringe people. Okay, blue ribbon, border ribbon, fringe people. Okay. All right, who traveled in silence, in dead silence, because we prayed. We prayed a lot to our God, okay? Who destroyed everything, because we tearing down altars. We tearing down idol altars. You understand that? Anytime we replenish the city, or we have what we call what did Joseph do with the restoration of the kingdom? All right, for every restoration of the kingdom, we coming down and we destroying everything. We destroying all the pagan and idol, all the sex altars, idols that's put upon the altar. We tearing them down. Okay, so when you talk about who destroys everything, that will be us. Okay, who men folk go where they will. Okay, with God, with Hawa, you understand? Man, we go. You understand? As our head, we go anywhere we please. You understand that? The earth is our turf. You understand? So they establish their booths and they spend their time in the countryside. Okay? In the countryside. Okay? In the mountains. Okay? In the countryside without observing the decrees of my king, Sogi. Shalaki. See, this is one of the problems that scholars or other Israelites have problems with calling the Abara or the Hebrews by the name of Abara, right? Is because when you got these Armana papers, Armana letters, right? These scrolls or these tablets, these stone tablets that these Egyptians, say kings and mayors, were writing about to the provinces that was over them because of what the Habara was doing. Okay, they was calling them Habara because they knew who they were. Okay, and then this proves that how it was Joshua, because because they're saying that the Habara were the Hamite people and the Hivites, but you got to understand this. Okay, if you go to Joshua in let's go to chapter 8. Okay, alliance. Okay, alliance that Joshua had made with the Gibeonites. Okay, let's go to chapter 8. No, let's make that 9. Chapter 9. Okay, so if we can remember in Joshua, okay, remember the Gibeonites had decepted Joshua and the Israelites, right? Remember they had decepted them. And so by bringing wine and food, but old wine, but really they had feared what Joshua and we had done in this land of Jericho, all right? And so uh, so therefore Joshua had made a league with the Gibeonites under false assumption. But once he made the league with them, he made a vow that he couldn't kill them. He would just make them servants. Okay. And like he said, until this day, they are servants. Okay. So when you get to 9, so when you get to chapter 9, when it talks about the Gibeonites. Okay. Let's go to verse 3. And when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard, okay, what Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai, okay, they did work willingly and went and made as if they had been ambassadors and took old sacks upon asses and wine bottles and old and rent and bound it up, okay, to take to Joshua. Okay, and the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, okay. So in Gibeon, these were Hivites. Okay, it was Gibeon was the capital, Gibeon, but Hivites dwelled in the land. Okay, so peradventure you dwell among us, and how shall we make a league with you? Okay, so it's 7. Verse 7, he says, and the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, peradventure ye dwell among us, and how shall we make a league with you? Okay. And they said unto Joshua, we are thy servants. Okay. And Joshua said unto them, who are ye? And he said, we are, and from whence we come. So the Hivites was telling them that they from far away, and we are the servants. So they were saying they were bowing down to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay. You understand that, right? And so they had heard about, what they said he done to the Amorite kings and all this, okay, and they said we were the servants. They are their servants, but they were being deceptive, okay. So when you get to verse 16, it says, and it came to pass at the end of the 3 days after they made a league. So this is after they made a league, after spending 3 days with them, and they heard that they were their neighbors, okay, and that they dwelt among them. Okay, so now the deception is discovered. Okay, the deception is discovered in 16. All right, but the children of Israel journeyed and came unto their cities on the 3rd day. Now their cities were Gibeon. All right, Gibeon was one of the cities, Chephara, and Beeroth, and Kirjathjearim. Okay. All right, and the children of Israel smote them not. Okay, they smote them not. Into these 4 cities they smote them not, because the princes of the congregation had sworn unto them by Yahweh, God of Israel, and all the congregation murmured against the princes. But all the princes said unto all the Lord of congregation, we have sworn unto them by the Lord Yahweh of Israel. Now therefore we may not touch them. Okay, they may not kill them. Okay, this we will do to them. We will even let them live, lest wrath be upon us because of our oath. Okay, they made a league with them. They made an oath with them, and they swore unto them. Okay, they swore unto them. Okay, so and the princes said unto them, let them live, but let them be hewers of wood, drawers of water, until all the congregation the princes had promised them. Okay, so he basically said, you're going to be our servants. Okay, so in Joshua, Yahusha called for them, and he spoke unto them, saying, wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying we are very far from you when you dwell among us. Now therefore you are cursed, and therefore shall none of you be freed from being bondmen and hewers of wood and drawers of the water of the house of our God. All right, the house of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, so they was like, yeah, we cool with that. All right, we cool with that. And they answered Joshua and said, because it was certainly told thy servants how that Lord thy God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Okay, to destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. Okay, you therefore we were sore afraid of our lives because of you, and have done this thing. Okay, so because they saying they were afraid of their lives because he's done this thing. All right, so he did not harm them because of that. Okay, because he made a league with them, right? All right, so now when you go over to chapter 10, and that's when you see this Amorite confederation. Okay, in chapter 10, right. Okay, so, and now what's even crazy, because now you can see that the people that Joshua was conquering, or Yahushua was conquering in the land, when you get down to verse 12, the Amorite, he delivered up the Amorites, and the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Okay, he asked God to make the sun stand still because these who we were smoting, these people who we were smoting, these tribes, worship a sun god, a sun deity. Okay, they worship a sun god. So therefore, he asked the Most High to make the sun not move so he can see that it was not this God that was making this happen. Okay, because they probably would have thought that it wasn't the Hebrew God. Okay, they would have thought that these were these other gods. So you could see this in the letters. Okay, that they were actually worshiping deities. They were worshiping the king and his son. Okay, and they were worshiping the actual sun. Okay, S-U-N. They were worshiping the actual sun in the sky. Okay, and so as you can see on that day, matter of fact, we can just go to it real quick. When you go to it in verse 13, in verse 13 he says, and the sun stood still and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher, in the book of Yasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day. Okay, and there was no day like that before it or after it, that Hawa hearkened into the voice of a man. Okay, Yahusha. Okay, Joshua, in the voice of a man, for Hawa fought for Israel. Okay, and Yahusha returned, and all of Israel with him. Okay, into the camp of Gilgal. All right, so as you can see, he made the sun go down because the people he were imposing on or pondering on, they worship the sun. Okay, so now that just brings it as far as where the confusion lies, because of, okay, this deception had happened, right? And so, all right, and then the punishment for the Gibeonites, right, the Hivites who were in Gibeon, was to just be drawers of wood, hewers of wood and drawers of water, right, for the house of Israel, right? So, but then as you got into chapter 10, you see the confederation. So if we go down to chapter 10, let's go to verse 1, from the other kings, right? The confederation against the other Amorite kings. So let's look in verse 1. All right, so it says, now it came to pass when Adoni Zadok, right? This is a Hebrew name. So let's watch for the confusion, okay? Came to pass when Adoni Zadok, okay, the Lord of justice, okay, this is a Canaanitish king, all right, king of Jerusalem, okay, a Canaanitish king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, and he had done it to Jericho and her king. So he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them. All right, so the other tribes had noticed, right, that Gibeon had made peace with them and was among them. Okay, so now when you look at it in their eyes, right, now these are the same dudes who writing the letter. Okay, these kings, all right, these mayors, as you call it, the king. So these cats are basically seeing that, you know, that the Gibeonites are, which are not Israelites but are with the Israelites. Okay, and then as you can see, check what see what Yahusha had done, so you can see the merging. Okay, not but how the Abara actually was ordained by the Most High to come take these lands, but you remember we didn't clear out the lands. So the Gibeonites also were basically our servants. So they were in the land with us. They bowed down to us. They bowed down to our feet. They bowed down to our creator. And so therefore they sided, or it appeared to be that we were together as one. So remember when we were in Egypt, how they said the Egyptians, when we were out praying, they called us Egyptians. Okay, but not understanding the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, and the same thing happened with Abraham. How when Lot was captured and kidnapped, and how he went and got the inhabitants of the land who were not Israelites, they became one and went and got Lot out the land. So this happened where you have these other nations along the side of Israel fighting. So that would be the confusion when you say, oh, this Abara. Some Israelites be like, oh no, the Abara is confusion because the archaeology doesn't add up, but it does add up. Okay, but they say the confusion is because you had Hamites fighting with other Hamites or you say Canaanites. But as you can see, these were Canaanites that were fighting with Israelites. Okay, when we get down to verse 10. So as you can see, we made peace with the Gibeonites, right? Okay, so in chapter 10, all right, as you can see, as they looked at it, right, in verse how they looked at it is that the fact the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them, right? So therefore, when you get down to 5, therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, okay, therefore the 5 kings of Amorites, okay, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, and all their hosts, and encamped before Gibeon and made war against Gibeon. Okay, and made war against Gibeon. Okay, and so you got in verse 6, and the men of Gibeon sent into Joshua, okay, to the camp of Gilgal, saying, slack not thy hand from thy servants. Okay, because remember, they made a league with them. Okay, they made a promise to them. Okay, so they couldn't harm them. Slack not thy hand from thy servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. Okay, and at this time you have the Jebusites in Jerusalem. Okay, the king of Jerusalem. Okay, so okay, they've gathered against us. Okay, and so in 7, you got, and Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord Hawah said unto Joshua, fear them not, for I have delivered them into thy hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. So Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly and went up from Gilgal all night. Okay, and Hawa and the Lord, all right, discomfited them before Israel and slew with them a great slaughter at Gibeon and chased them along the way that goeth up. So as you can see, all right, these other kings, the king of Jerusalem, these other Amorite kings, right? But as you can see, Gibeon is sided with, okay, Gibeon is sided with Israel, okay? And Joshua is defending Gibeon, Hivites. He's defending his Hivites because the Hivites made an oath with us. All right. They made an oath with us. So now it's validation to the letters, and now you can get an understanding. Now you can get an understanding that when Joshua and we're going to take the land, all right, of these people, that some of these people sided with us and therefore were along a side with us. Okay, so that's why it seemed like in these days when they were talking about the Abara and the Habara, we couldn't understand, or when they talking about the high schools, we couldn't understand these type of invasions. All right, because we always understood us being invaded. Okay, so we couldn't understand when Joshua invaded the land. Okay, so Bar Hashem. All right, so we're just breaking it down for the Abara. All right, good blessings. All right, so you know. Now, when you even talk about the children of Jacob that went into the Middle East, that went over into Israel, that went over, that's in the not Damascus, but that's in the I can't remember exactly right now, but as you can see, we didn't pick up the observances of the other nations, even the Gentile Jewish nation. We didn't pick up their culture, their traits. We stuck strictly to our commandments. Okay, strictly to our commandments, strictly to the Bible. Okay, we don't veer from it. Okay, we it's in our, it's in our heart. We're trying not to veer from it. Okay, but when we have the ability to establish the law, we will establish the law. So they spent their time in the countryside without observing the decrees of another king. Okay, and this is King Koji or King Shogi. Okay, they are therefore people who live on the edge of society and are a law to themselves. Okay, now that's one, from a person from outside looking in, but you understand that there are people who follow one true. We are people who follow the one true and living God. Okay, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, and the law is on our hearts, so therefore, we try in our best ability. Okay, under any conditions. You understand? Under any conditions. Okay, so the word also appears in the 19th century BC in administrative texts in southern Mesopotamia. Okay, now 19th century BC. Okay, in administrative text in southern Mesopotamia, where one text calls them the Haparu, okay, with a P-I-R-U, I-U, or I or U, which is transitioned out, but here they are soldiers with the chief. Okay, soldiers with the chief. So you understand, we all were soldiers with the chief. Okay, and receive supplies of food. In a similar text in Susa and Elam, they are recorded as having sheep. Okay, sheep. So when you talk about soldiers with a chief, you're talking about a flock with a shepherd. Okay, so this culture, okay, this culturic people. Okay, in similar texts in Susa and Elam, they are recorded as having sheep supplied to them, as well as to other groups, they and the others being identified as soldiers of the West. Okay, they would appear therefore in these cases as mercenaries. I don't know about mercenaries. I don't know about that. You know, because to me, mercenary is too much like, well, I guess in a derogatory form, prisoner of war, right? Mercenaries, prisoners of war, right? So I guess in that text, you know, in that context, in the 16th, 15th century BC, they are again equated with the Haparu, but this time more fully, and here they are soldiers or even quarrymen under the orders of Saga's leaders. One Saga from Tap Duwa has 15 soldiers under him. Okay. Now remember what I was talking about before, how these soldiers, okay, think about us. Okay. We were invaded by people. Think about when Persia invaded. So next thing you know, you had your own brothers and sisters fighting with the Persians. Okay? Fighting against you with the Persians. So same thing, man. What about World War II? You understand how once we were invaded, what we doing? Now we over there messing with, you understand? Messing with our own brothers and sisters. So it's the same thing. Messing with melanated people. We went to in another place. You understand? So you can see that, you know, man, the genocide, the eugenics is deep. Okay, it's deep. But I think the eugenics was just a sealing of the deal of the brain sex or the brain rape. You understand, the sealing of the deal, because you know the eugenics program was just to basically water down all the true history that you knew. Okay, so you understand. So evidently the true history is the fact that there were brothers and sisters that's just like you, that were the enemy, that became your enemy, and they did a lot of hiring, man. They did a lot of outsourcing to cause our own demise. Okay, they gave up plenty of our land. Okay, they gave up plenty of our land on just one that would invade to help with these wars that you and I, brothers and sisters, was taking place, were emerging on each other, engulfing on each other. Okay, so it's deep, man. Y'all get to that First and Second Kings, First and Second Chronicles. There you get a bird's eye view of what's really going down. Okay, so later they are clearly equated with the Habaru in the Armenian letters, where some call them the Sagas, the Nagas, while the king of Jerusalem calls them the Habaru. Alright, is seen as a somewhat peculiar or prerogative term or pejorative. Okay, they are seen as operative not only in Syria but also in Phoenicia near Sumu, Batram, and Byblos, in Upi near Damascus, and further south far of Jerusalem. Okay. Okay, around the 15th century, 600 sagas are elsewhere given the god of the temple, just as Ramesses III will later give the PRW, prisoners of war, or the Habarus, to the Egyptian temples of the Delta. Okay, the Egyptian temples of the Delta. Okay, now you know what we call the Delta. The Delta would be by a river, right? The Delta would be by a river, man. That's what we call the Delta in the South. So the Delta would be this river. Now, by this river, you're talking about the Nile Valley, by the rivers in Americas, or the Michoacans. The Michoacans, we're talking about the Mississippi River. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right. It's a beautiful thing. So as we can see, hold on one second.